taking on Arsenal elsewhere in the Premier League this weekend. Fulham took 5 points off Arsenal last season. They'll, of course, be hoping to do the same. A number of actual former Arsenal players feature in this game. Arsenal, though, 8-5 on. Fulham, 17-4 draw, 3-1. Kieran, I don't know if you've noticed, but Arsenal are very good at set pieces and getting goals from them at the moment. 8 apiece with Everton, but of course, because it's Arsenal, they're the ones who are grabbing all the headlines in the manner of which they're doing it. As a former defender, how do you stop them?
Oh, how do you stop it? Okay, I mean, I think it's important to note first that they're just very good at set pieces, and then when you're good at them, it's very difficult to stop. I don't care what any defender says. Even Frank, I heard Frank say the other day that if you really want to stop an attacker scoring from a corner, you can do it, which I think it's a little bit naive, Frank. I know you're a great defender, but you know it's difficult when an attacker has a run on you and you're trying to watch the man and the ball at the same time and cover the space. Is not as easy as it seems, and they have a ridiculous delivery at the moment that is extremely consistent. So maybe the best way is to try and stop giving away as many corners. When we used to play against Stoke, we would purposely not give away throw-ins. We would rather give away a corner than a throw-in against Stoke. You know, back in 2008 or whenever Rory Delap was there, because his throw-in was so good. So maybe, you know, they could try to stop the corner from the first place, but it's difficult because the attackers are so direct, and they're winning a lot of corners because they're going at their man 1v1 on the side, and it's very difficult to stop. So the only other thing I could say is that for the United goal, the first United goal the other night, I felt that their starting position was a little bit too forward. A little bit too close to the ball, and I think that they're closing that space too early, and it's allowing the defenders to get a run. And as soon as the ball clears one man, but it can't clear two, because when the ball is lofted, you have all of these big players at the back, and it's hard to compete with them. You have to rely on your keeper to be a little bit more brave and come off his line and spot that the ball is a higher ball, and maybe they can come and collect it, even though it's difficult because they are being blocked. But that's all I have for you.
Oh, that's very, very.
That was quite a lot, actually.
And that was a good.
So what I'm reading into this as Nicholas, whatever his name is, Jobar, comes out strutting about like a peacock, set piece coach. As Kieran mentioned, they got a lot of corners because they're one of the best teams. So I'm presuming that really they're pro rata to Everton. They're not as good. Everton have got the same amount of goals from set pieces. Will not get the same amount of corners because they're nowhere near as an attacking side. And I presume they don't have a set-piece coach. Hey, Sean Dyche and Ian Woan, we don't need to pay a set-piece coach. Hey,
I don't know why you're diluting this discussion, bringing in Everton.
What I'm saying is, are we not getting carried away?
No, I think, look...
When you have a team without a set-piece coach, blood and guts manager, they've got the same amount from less corners. I said this, I'll say this again. You have to... I said this yesterday on the show, and I'm going to repeat myself. You have to... Arsenal are giving everybody the heebie-jeebies from corner kicks. You have to make them think. If you want to take some of these defenders out of the equation, you have to leave three players back up the field.
Right.
You've got to leave a wide player on the left, a wide player on the right, and a centre forward.
So if it's that obvious, why aren't people doing it?
Leandro Trossard and Martin Odegaard are not going to go back and mark these players. They're not. Right? They're going to send some defenders back to mark the players. That leaves some smaller players, and it leaves it less congested around the goalkeeper, giving the goalkeeper a better chance, a better opportunity to come out because there's less bodies and either punch it away or clean up the situation. All I'm saying is teams can't keep trying to defend this by plugging the 6-yard box with 8 or 9 of the defensive players,
right,
because it's just not working. They're finding a way around it by blocking because there's so many bodies, and the goalkeeper, also the defending goalkeeper, is struggling to come out to make a punch if it's whipped in. So you have to make them think in a different way. I haven't seen that yet. We used to do this quite a lot.
with Stoichkov, I think, and some others where, I don't know who the coach was, maybe Johan Cruyff, when he asked them to stay up. And yeah, you play chase game, and the other coach has to say, well, no, we cannot keep the two centre backs there. If there is a counter attack, we're gonna be screwed. So you have to make sure that if you gamble right. So if you leave two people at front, three people at front, you have to make sure that the other team is going to react and change their plan. But I just want to go back to what Kieran was saying, and saying that I was naive. That I'm happy to hear at 56 that I'm very naive. So it means I'm still curious about life. But and I don't know everything. But I always thought when I was saying that, Kieran, is because, in fact, if you don't look at the ball, if you just look at your player, and we all know that you can pull a little bit the shirt, you can jump on him just before he gets the ball, like that he cannot jump. We all know how to do that. If the guy doesn't touch the ball, if any guy touches the ball, nobody's going to score a goal. So you don't care about the ball. You just care about, take care of the player. It's what the coach told me. And I wasn't the best defender, but I knew that against a guy like Ferguson playing for Everton, or Keane playing for Sunderland, they were monsters. Dublin playing for Coventry. If you jump just before them, on their face, they cannot get the ball. You disturb them, and you make kind of a block and an obstruction. But the referee is never going to give you a penalty against you, because it's a big mess. So I still have the idea that if you man mark the guy and you jump in front of him, if you disturb him, he's not going to score. What I see there, the zone, the fake man mark system doesn't work like that. I like Craig's suggestion. That might be the solution for many teams.
Frank, you might be naive, but at least you were here in time for this show today.
Right. Kieran, what do you make of Craig's tactics to leave people up, to have you second-guessing as a defender going forward?
It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought. But if Marco Silva gets fired tomorrow and Craig Burley gets the job at Fulham, I guarantee you he's not leaving Iwobi, Smith Rowe, and Nelson up top. No chance. There's no chance. There's no chance.
But why you don't know Craig Burley?
But why not?
No way.
Why not?
You're just not going to do it, because they can't defend. They can't defend.
They have to 4 back.
You don't have to.
They're not going to leave themselves 3 on 3. They're not going to leave themselves man for man.
I think that he would probably leave 2
against 3.
I think he would. Because his deliveries are that good, and his players are that good on set piece, that
if you left 2 against 3 and the goalkeeper actually came out and picked the ball up, then they're screwed. Hey, listen, it's something. It's not. I'm not just saying this off the top of my head. It's something we used to do, and I've seen other teams do it. We just don't see it that often now. You know, managers are very cautious. But what I'm saying is, Arsenal are posing such a threat that, and the blocking. And the keeper coming out, getting, running into traffic. All these things can be helped by not allowing Arsenal to have so many men in the box. It's not something I've just come up with off the top of my head. We should talk about it. Listen, let's leave 2 or 3 up, and they'll drag more men back, and then it gives us the chance to go in the counter-attack. It makes Mikel Arteta and his players and his set-piece coach think about what they're going to do. Simple as that.
Would you be interested in the Fulham job?
How much?
I don't know. I'll chip in. Let's take a look at the predictions then, shall we? No surprise everyone has gone for an Arsenal win. Kieran, you confident going into this clash?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I feel like they've got their groove back, which is comforting. They look back together again after a little blip, which is normal when you miss your best player. And now with him back, they're just seen back on track. It's pretty clear. If they want to challenge, they got to keep Ødegaard fit. So I'd like to see them maybe be a little bit more careful with him, not overplay him for the rest of the year and moving into the new year. Although to his credit, he hasn't looked out of place at all. But he's just so important for this Arsenal team, I think. But yeah, they're back to business. It feels like they're developing more of a know how to win games now. You know, they weren't great, amazing again, or overly pleasing on the eye against United, but they're just very efficient. They just know their strengths very well. They don't stray too far away from them, and yeah, it feels like they've got a firm grip back on how the manager wants them to play. So for me, it's just about how fit they can keep their best players now.
They got a great run. If you take a look at their run between now and into the new year, you couldn't ask really for much better fixtures, considering the congestion, considering how quickly, of course, all these kind of fixtures come upon us. Fulham, Everton, Palace, Ipswich, Brentford, Brighton, Spurs. It's not bad, is it, for
It's not bad, yeah.
for this time?
That's pretty good, but you've still got to go out and get the job done. But I agree. It's like on paper, that's a good run through a busy period. You think about the sort of Boxing Day or just after, 27th of December. Although they have got, a week between a game. I don't know if there's anything else midweek between these games.
They've got Champions League, this week coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, but then they have a sort of 7-day between. Then they have the 6-day between the 21st and 27th. So that's a good chunk of time off at a normal busy period. So. Yeah, look, Fulham are a good side. Marcus Silva's a good manager, but in the first half yesterday, they had a good result in the end. They were better in the second half, but in the first half, they were gifted a goal by Van Bruggen, the Brighton goalkeeper, and then Brighton dominated them, but couldn't sort of put them away in the first 45. They're unlikely to be able to let Arsenal have the sort of possession that Brighton had, particularly in and around the final third, and get away with it. So. As good as they've been recently and as good as the results they had last year against Arsenal, I think it's going to be a tall task for them if Arsenal play like they did. Not particularly the Man United game, as Kieran said, but the way they played in the games, the 2 or 3 games before that. And yeah, there's a sort of Arsenal edge to it, some ex-players in there. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to quality, and Arsenal have the quality.